Education Testing Service is out with a chilling new report about what is simply a failing public education system in this country. The study forecasting a decline in the quality of life for millions of middle-class Americans because of the decline of public education. Kitty Pilgrim reports.
3 trends in America create a perfect storm for economic disaster: inadequate literacy rates, a changing economy that will require high levels of education, and an influx of low-skilled workers, fueled by immigration.
We expect that this storm will continue to gather strength over the years and will lead to widening inequality and threaten the standard of living of this country.
It's going to take a high level of education to be competitive in the job market for the next decade. 46% of employment growth will be in jobs requiring college-level skills. Once in those jobs, employer-sponsored training will boost those employed educated workers to higher levels. But the unskilled and the undereducated will flounder in the job market. Until 2015, immigration will account for more than half the country's population growth. So unskilled workers will have increasing competition for low-paying jobs.
The problem can be dealt with, but it has to be dealt with through our education system and by families taking responsibilities for what's going on.
Some education specialists say changing the curriculum or teacher compensation can help, but showing kids that college is accessible is the best way.
There are kids out there who, when they hit 9th grade, take a look around them and say, you know what, I'm not going to college. I think we have to give those kids some kind of relevant pathway. And I think when you do, they actually come out and say, you know what, I can do this.
ETS is planning on meeting with national and government leaders to find solutions to their perfect storm. Kitty Pilgrim, CNN.
The title of this disturbing report is America's Perfect Storm: 3 Forces Changing Our Nation's Future. Joining me now is Kurt Langdraff. He is the president and CEO of the Educational Testing Service. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Kurt, this is a disaster. We have been reporting on this broadcast, I think, as you know, about the failing public education system in this country. But to see it quantified in terms of, and if we could go to the illiteracy a graphic that shows the way the population breaks down by literacy, if we could have that, adult literacy levels, the fact that we have just the 2 lowest levels, we're talking about over half the population of the country. What in the world can we do about that?
We have 100 million people who don't have the skills, the literacy skills or the mathematical skills for the economy of the 21st century, and that's going to get worse, Lou.
Say that number again.
It's over 100 million people on the age 16 to 65 who are in the workforce who don't have literacy or numerical skills for the workforce, and that's going to get worse. Because in 30 years, we estimate there'll be another 50 million people who will be exactly in the same place.
And at the same time, you're saying you expect 30 million people will fall into the 2 lowest proficiency levels by 2030 unless things change. As we go around this country, we've got half the black students in high school dropping out. We've got half the Hispanic students in this country dropping out. What in the world are we going to do? We've got a federal government that wants to talk about no child left behind, and aside from the benefits of it, and certainly there are some, it is not an emergency response to what you're describing and clearly defining and empirically demonstrating is a national crisis.
And it's exactly why we call it a perfect storm, because it's the combination of a failing educational system and preparing people for the workforce, a changing demographic in this country, and an economy that's not creating traditional middle-class jobs, which causes this crisis. This is, in fact, going to be a disaster unless there's intervention and something is done to change the status quo and the path forward.
All right. The public education system is, in my judgment, the great equalizer in this society of ours. It is absolutely critical to the American dream, the American way of life. What can we do to turn this thing around and to do it quickly?
Yeah, I think it's a return to common sense. It's absolutely critical that we do something about it. That's what we hope from this report. This will be a wake-up call. People will look at the reality of where we are. Return to common sense, start kids earlier in school. If they need nutrition, give it to them. If they need English language training, give it to them. Return to the basics, mathematics, reading and writing. Without a good start, nothing else works.
All right, then why in the world is the NEA, the National Education Association, the other, the Federation of Teachers, Why aren't they helping on this? They're the two largest national associations. Why in the world isn't the federal government doing this? Why aren't state departments of education focusing on common sense? Because parents have been saying this for years.
Yeah, I think they're trying. But what I think has been lost is this is a local problem and needs to be addressed based upon the reality of the local issue.
Kurt Landgraf, we thank you for being here. Educational
sir.
Testing Service. We thank you. It's an alarming report. People want to see it online. They can go to where?
www.ets.org.
ETS.org. Throw those W's in front of it. All right. Kurt, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.